Good morning and you're very welcome to Man Friday. Coming up today, I'm big and you're little and there's nothing you can do about it. Yes, this bodybuilder says she doesn't mind that her husband's arms are smaller than hers. We asked the boys if they'd care if their partner was more buff than them. The doctor will see you now. Yes, with flu season well and truly upon us, we'll be learning about how to protect ourselves from getting sick this winter. Dr. Vita Hamilton joins us later in the show. And stop right now, thank you very much. If you want to be Mel B's lover, you got to get with a test. Yes, the singer says she won't take things to the next level with potential boyfriends unless they check themselves out. Lovely. Now, of course, we want to know what you want to talk about in the show. Here's how to get in touch.
You can email us, elaine@virginmedia.ie. Follow us on facebook.com/ElaineVMTV. Find us on Twitter @ElaineVMTV. Have your say any way you want.
And joining me today on the show, we have broadcaster Thomas Cross, otherwise known as Crossy. He's a little bit delicate today, so we have to mind him. Next up, for the very first time in the panel, God love him, is restaurateur Gareth Smith, otherwise known as Gaz. And finally, from the Swing Cats, we have the one and only Luke Thomas. Now, meet Natalia Kuznetsova. Yes, I think I pronounced that right. Yes, she's a world champion bodybuilder and she works hard to maintain her bulging biceps. Now, the gym bunny met her partner over a decade ago and he is significantly smaller than her. Now, even though Natalia would probably beat her husband in an arm wrestling contest, this doesn't faze her as she's more focused on his love and support. So, would you be bothered if your partner was physically stronger than you? Crossy?
Well, as a bodybuilder myself.
He had one CrossFit class this week and you swear to God who's living.
I'm in bits. I'm trying to start getting healthy again, but sure, look, it's an ever-going...
It's nearly Christmas.
Every problem, it's like, oh, you're making a career out of it. But yeah, I think I've always been bigger than my partners.
Me too.
Yeah.
Kind of get used to it after a while.
But I don't know, I've never been with someone who's been either taller than me or the same size as me or as muscly than me.
Yeah?
Like, I'm not muscly. I think so, yeah.
Petite would be your type.
Petite, it would be my...
Little waist, yeah.
Petite young men.
Yes, young.
The boy band look, would that be?
The boy band look,
You were in a boy band, weren't you, Luke?
Exactly.
Okay, so you're going to take your shirt off?
No, none of us are doing that here today. Gaz, would it bother you?
Well, I spent 36 years successfully avoiding this issue with my anti-bodybuilder's body. No, it wouldn't bother me. It definitely wouldn't be my cup of tea, though.
Yeah, but I find that frightening. I mean, to get that buff and that much muscle, that doesn't happen naturally. I mean, you are a bit... to be fair, a bit of an old gym bunny. Like, you did that bodybuilding competition.
I did it this time last year. I did it, but gee,
but like, what would you have to do to get a physique like that?
To go that extra, you would have to take supplements. You know, there are supplements that are legal as well, but you would have to take supplements to actually get like that. And you'd be eating like a horse, excuse the expression, but you would be, to try and turn everything you eat into muscle to maintain it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, I personally, only personally, I wouldn't like to have a partner that could body slam me, you know, like, pick me up and... I just...
No. Now he's woken up.
You know, there's someone for everybody, I'm not saying that, you know, but personally, you know, I would feel a bit... I feel very intimidated if someone was 6'6" and you know, big wider shoulders than I did. Like.
Yeah, but like the effort of going to the gym for hours every day. I mean, when you were doing it, you had to eat all like broccoli and
I did.
chicken
I was going to gigs and I had to weigh everything I ate had to be weighed. So I'd have a chicken breast and a pan full of rice, and that would be I'd have that maybe 3 times a day. And if I was really hungry, I would be able to have half a banana or something like that. So you're standing on stage swaying. It's not realistic, you know, when you're trying to cut and get into that sort of shape. But I did notice that she's doing this when she was 14. She was like, this is something she's probably doing 10, 15 years. Like, someone can't do this overnight, you know, that sort of way. But I would just be, you know, someone...
Because it's weird, I was told at the start of the year I would never lose weight if I kept lifting weights because I put on, like, muscle mass quite quickly. So it was like, forget about it. If you want to drop a couple of sizes, you have to just cut out the weights for a while. Because I was remember I was deadlifting mad and all last year. But the thoughts of actually doing that, I would prefer to look like a blancmange for the rest of my life than not eat nice food and have nice things. I mean, life's too short.
It is too short, and that's like, that would be a drastic calorie deficit to try and get you down, you know.
You'd be miserable. I'd be miserable. Would you be miserable? You'd be miserable.
That's definitely not my cup of tea at all. I'm way too fond of my food.
And you cook as well.
Turning that into muscle would be my problem.
Yeah, I'd be just sitting there, like, nice carb belly, sit down here and digest it all. But Crossy, for sure, don't need to ask you.
I love food, though.
I love food.
I love food.
Food is lovely.
Yeah.
It's
And
yummy.
We have this relationship with the gym that we go to it, we love it, it's brilliant, and then you fall out of love with it, and then you wait for it to come back again.
No, you
Do find
reward
that?
yourself for the chips and curry on the way home
That's
from the
it.
gym.
Chips curry.
Like, but my problem
Battered
was
sausage.
that I get something for the drive home.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I missed that. What?
6 pints.
Reward. done.
I did a whole half hour in the gym. Woohoo! Go me.
And that's just the pre-workout.
I noticed your arm was quite big.
The bicep on the right hand is great. Yeah. But like you couldn't possibly. I mean, if you're on it, I imagine working in a restaurant and doing what you do and having to. Oh no, not being able to
We're
put
actually
butter
the
around
worst
anything.
eaters because we get home after playing with all this beautiful food.
Yeah.
And we don't, at the end of the shift, you don't want to eat any of it. You
Really?
don't want to eat
Oh,
the
wow.
turbo or the lobster steak. And
You just want
I
McDonald's or
see
something.
chippers are full of chefs every night and we want our...
Really?
Yeah, because we leave work, we don't want to touch this food, and then we'll convince ourselves we won't eat when we get home, and halfway home you're starving then, and
You just get the convenient stuff.
Yeah.
So you don't want to eat the fine dining food you've prepared. You just want the
spend
junk.
all day looking at it, you know.
What's your go-to, you know, when you're knackered, you're tired after work? What's, you know...
I'm too ashamed to say it, to be honest.
Go on.
Go on.
We won't
Go on.
judge.
Chicken balls.
Oh, yes.
I go sweet, I go bag of Haribo. I go...
Oh, no.
Well, that's the...
Oh, there's a few courses, so
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Of course, you know. So you'll start with the chicken balls, then you would follow through on that with a bag of giant strawberries.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fruit? No, you're...
Fruit or the actual sweets?
You're all right.
The sweets. Oh God,
Okay,
that's a judgy stuff. You should see the stuff he cooks. Like my good God. But maybe all chefs
What
are the
about
same.
you,
I don't know.
Rossi? What about you?
Oh, chips. My problem... If Chippers in Ireland closed tomorrow, I'd be skinny. Like, I literally
Or
love
if you
a
ran out
chipper.
of vinegar, would you still have them without the
See,
vinegar?
I wouldn't have chips without vinegar.
No.
Anyway, I'm getting starving now. I'm
Swim in
stopping
vinegar.
talking about food.
Swimming it, yeah, Jerry.
Oh, swimming in
extra
vinegar.
vinegar there.
Stop.
There is nothing worse than your food turning up and they haven't put on the vinegar and none in the house.
Oh,
It's just,
yeah.
And then
crushing.
Throw them out.
if you get pizza and there's no garlic dip, that's just
yes.
soul
yes.
destroying.
Oh, yes.
It's just upsetting. Right. Speaking of upsetting, any woman who's been through labour knows that it's not easy. But do we ever think about what dads go through in the delivery room now? Recently, a husband penned a heartfelt message on Facebook, because he's so private, about how he gritted his teeth, tensed his body and cried during his wife's labour because he could feel her pain, her excruciating pain. William Trice Battle from Texas said his wife Lauren's struggle seemed almost unbearable, but she pulled through it. He said her experience made him realise he was merely a passenger and he would never fully understand what she went through to bring their baby boy into the world. So, is a dad's experience overlooked in the labour ward? Well, we want to get your thoughts. Take a look.
It is hard on them. They're probably their first time to see this happening. So it is hard for them, so people should be sympathetic to them.
I have 2 boys and my husband has been there for both their births and both were without epidurals, so they were tough. But it was good having his support there. I remember him saying after my first child that he was surprised at what, you know, birth entailed. It was nothing like what you see in the films. But it was good to have his support there, and you know, I never asked him how he was because I think I got the rougher end of the deal, definitely.
Personally speaking, you know, I've been there and sort of, you know, looking at one eye and turning away and finding it sort of stressful and all that, you know. So yeah, we're kind of wimps that way, I suppose, you know, maybe a bit. But yeah, I think men are uncomfortable with the whole idea of it in the first place, you know.
But I wouldn't say we're overlooked. I mean, the women are doing all the work, so I wouldn't say we're overlooked in any way whatsoever. It's difficult, I suppose, in terms of seeing your wife go through or your partner going through it.
We have 3 children and he was only at the birth of one of them. Yeah, because the others were too old. The husband wasn't allowed in then. And I tore the leg off him. Had my nails into his leg. Really hurt him.
I thought it was great to be in there actually, because the first 2 I wasn't allowed in, so, you know. But yeah, it was great to be there to see it all happening and all that, and it was a bit painful, all right. The nails.
He just said you should look in the window, right, Luke? You're what age is your baby?
My baby
You're a little
is...
the light of your life.
She's nearly 11 months old. So, January, I was in the delivery room, up the top end of the room.
The business end or the top end?
Oh, the top, oh, the head, yeah. Gazing into her eyes
Yeah.
lovingly and giving support.
Yeah.
Say, you can do this, you can do this. And No, it was amazing, and I would encourage any would-be father or soon-to-be father to go into the room. I think you'll find a newfound respect for your partner. Now, I don't think there's a need to go online and say you were crying and all this sort of stuff. I think people are emotional in these times.
In fairness, I cried my eyes out.
Oh, well,
Did you?
there you go.
Aw.
There you go.
For both of them, or just...
Well,
Okay, let's talk about the first part first. So you were present for this one.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say he's extremely brave for claiming that he could feel the pain of a childbirth, and I certainly wouldn't have the balls to do that.
Yeah. We should do that experiment, actually, put the TENS machine on men, and just because you could mimic the pain of labour. Anyway, continue.
Because if I was going through that pain, we'd only have one kid for sure. Done, I'm out. Snipped. Next. So I was there for Gabrielle's, and it was, to be honest, it was terrifying. You know, it was the first, and with the contractions and stuff, it was absolutely terrifying. And then when she popped out, I sobbed my heart out. And then with Felix's, the labour was like 12 hours long. And we were living in Vienna at the time, and there's very strict parking rules. So I just popped out to move the car, and I was gone 15 minutes, and then I returned, and Felix was there. And I actually couldn't believe that was our baby. I was like, whose baby is that?
I was literally gone.
I went for 1 pint.
And it happened.
But it happened very, very fast. But I felt kind of cheated a little bit.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh. You missed it.
Yeah.
She was probably, thank God he's gone, I can push now because he won't start crying again. I'm only joking. but it can happen really quickly. I mean, my sister was literally dropped to the hospital door by the time she went to the ward, and her husband had parked the baby was born.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. And my mother had 11 without an epidural, she says all the time. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think I'd be able for that pain. I passed a kidney stone and that was enough for me.
Women do have a higher pain threshold, isn't that?
Apparently so, yes.
Yeah.
We'll have a doctor on after the break, and we'll be talking about flu, and particularly man flu. So we might ask her opinion on whether the higher pain threshold is there. But yeah, it is. Is it something? Do you want children at all, Crossy?
Never. No, I'm fine. I don't need kids. I can hardly look after myself.
I can give you my 12-year-old for a week if you want to absolutely double down on not wanting kids.
I think like that guy, like what an idiot. Don't be posting that stuff online.
No, I don't think so.
I'd say she would probably thump him.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, in the situation, I don't know how you found it, but, you know, men are the second-class citizens in that situation. That's the way it should be, you know. It's not really about the husband, the partner. It's about the woman giving birth, you know, like you're sent down the corridor, you get the cup of tea or whatever, and you're just there support, you know. It's not about your show.
Do you remember that absolute clown earlier on in the year who drew on loads of big cardboard things when his wife was in labour? It was like the Love Actually thing. You were such an awesome, strong woman, all this sort of stuff. And then he put it up online. Could you imagine, there you are, dilating, the baby's crowning, you know, that clown sitting there, like, you'd punch him, I know where I'd put the signs, as would any normal woman.
There's a certain type of fella, and you could spot them out in the crowd that would do stuff like that. Like, sweetie, darling, come over here for a second.
Didn't Robbie Williams start singing or something at the birth? He did something mad at the birth as well.
He said it was like watching his favourite pub burn down, watching his wife give birth.
God. Do people still film the births from the business then, or was that just
some of them do.
a 90s thing?
Yeah, I think apparently some of them do. I don't know why anyone would want to do that. I would not want to see that. No. Anyway, I'm going to take a break now because I'm... Stop. Right, when we come back, we'll hear some top tips on how to stay healthy this winter from Dr. Vita Hamilton. See you back here in 3. You're very welcome back to the show. Now, winter is now in full swing, and whether you love or hate the season, there's no denying that the colder months bring a higher risk of getting sick with a cold or a flu. Now, joining us to tell us how to keep healthy this flu season is Dr. Vita Hamilton. You're very welcome to the show. Now, what's the difference between a cold and a flu, first of all? Because some people get it mixed up sometimes. They say, oh, I'm dying of flu, and they don't. They've just a runny nose, like not looking at anyone in particular, but yeah.
OK, so a cold is a local infection that's confined to your upper respiratory tract. So that's your nose, your throat, and maybe a bit of your upper windpipe. The symptoms are snuffly nose, sneezing, runny nose, sore throat, and maybe a mild upper cough.
But so it's kind of
very
there.
much
It's not
localized to here. It doesn't affect your appetite, it doesn't affect your energy levels, and it doesn't affect your functional ability.
Yeah.
The flu is completely different. It's what we call a systemic disease. It affects everything, so your whole body. So while a lot of the symptoms are around your respiratory tract, so your nose, your throat, and your lungs, it in fact affects your whole body. You've got fever, you've got aches and pains in your muscles and joints, you lose your appetite, you feel absolutely wiped out.
Yeah.
You have no energy, and you need to rest your body and allow time to pass for it to heal. It's caused by a virus, so an antibiotic doesn't shorten the length of the illness. And you don't particularly need to see a doctor. You need to stay home, stay warm, plenty of fluids, eat a little bit regularly to keep your energy levels up, and rest and allow it to pass.
Yeah, the whole feed a cold and starve a fever thing, that...
It's actually because you lose your appetite when you have the flu, and usually your appetite increases a bit when you've got a cold.
Yeah. Can you get the flu if you're not coughing and sneezing? Can you have it without those symptoms?
Absolutely, yes. So the big symptoms of flu are fever, aches and pains, loss of appetite, and feeling profoundly
exhausted.
Unwell.
So it's like when you get the pain when your bones literally ache.
Absolutely.
And you have a high temperature.
Your muscles ache and your joints ache, and you're not able to function at your normal level.
Wow. How effective is the vaccine this year? Because I know sometimes it can be a little bit hit and miss. There seems to be a lot of flu around with people who've had the vaccine as well. I mean, you can't 100% inoculate against any flu at any given time, can you?
So we've moved to a new vaccine this year called a quadrivalent. So it includes 4 different types of flu, and it's given very good coverage. We're officially in flu season since last week, and the predominant flu is flu A, and that's well covered by the vaccine. And although we're in flu season, it's still not too late to get your flu vaccine. It takes 2 weeks for it to become fully effective, but flu season goes on for up to 3 months.
Wow.
So I do recommend you get your flu vaccine.
Should everyone get a flu vaccine, or is it just at risk categories?
Well, everybody should get a flu vaccine because this is a preventable disease, but particularly people who are in the high-risk categories. So the very young, people with chronic disease, and older people at a much higher risk of picking up flu than people who are young, fit and healthy. So, for example, people with chronic diseases are 8 times more likely to pick up the flu than the likes of yourself and myself.
Yeah, I had it already, you're grand.
And I've had mine too, because I interact with people who are in vulnerable groups, and I don't want to, if I pick up the flu, I don't want to pass it on to them, and nor do I want to bring it home to my own family.
Yeah.
My son has asthma, he's had his flu vaccine, but I certainly wouldn't want him, for me to have brought it home to him.
What is the best practice to avoid actually getting it? Because, you know, if you sneeze around someone and you have someone coughing over there, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to get the flu. What's the most important thing you or I need to do to stop getting infected?
Well, of course, the flu isn't the only circulating virus around winter time. So we've got lots of head colds. We've got RSV, which is respiratory syncytial virus.
Oh my God,
There's a lot
of
that about. It's the respiratory tract infection that affects small children in particular, and there's quite a lot circulating at the moment.
The wheezy cough one, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's no vaccine for that. So what you can do then is to try and prevent it with good infection prevention and control, and that's about hand washing and good sneeze and respiratory tract etiquette.
Yeah.
So viruses live for days, weeks even, on surfaces. So if you touch a banister and you've a head cold and you've done this and you touch the banister, okay, now you've spread the virus on the surface. Somebody else comes along to them, they touch their face. So how do you protect yourself? You wash your hands regularly. The more often you wash your hands, you decrease the load of viruses on your hands.
Is that the main transmission through your touch?
So the 2 transmissions is the hands and then sneezing or coughing, and that's about 1 metre spread. So the good respiratory etiquette is into a tissue, sneeze or cough into the tissue, bin it, clean your hands.
Yeah.
If you don't have access to a tissue, then you do the vampire sneeze, like that.
I know, it's like the dab.
Yeah.
They can get away with it and pretend.
Yeah.
I was actually wondering, because a lot of people go, they basically sneeze the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah. Now you're still
going to have a blob
putting the virus there, but you don't, you know, it's your hands that go on the surfaces.
Yeah.
So in terms, as a parent, it's really important to help your kids wash their hands properly, and also to teach them good respiratory etiquette.
Question, just because I'm on public transport a lot in the Lewis and stuff, and people sneeze on you.
Yeah.
So I know you're saying wash your hands, but if someone sneezed on me and I washed my hands, they still sneezed on me, is there...
Yeah, so I
they-
suppose what you do want the sneeze to do is to get to the front of your body. So if somebody is sneezing, if you can
Duck for cover.
gently, duck for cover. And then in terms of hands, if you are in the public arena a lot, having a little alcohol gel in your pocket. And
Does that
use
actually
regular-
work? The hand sanitizer gels that people carry around. You see it going to in a lot of buildings and stuff over this time of year as well. It is effective.
Yeah, as long as your hands are physically clean. If you've got lumps of muck, it's not going to sterilise lumps of muck. So you do have to have your hands have to be visibly clean for it to work.
But let's say if you leave, someone was sneezing on the loose and you were afraid, if you did it after that sort of thing, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you wash your hands before or after you've clattered them?
No, guys. But you have to have the stringent hygiene as well, isn't
Yeah,
it? I mean, you're
for
handling
sure.
all sorts of fish and food and everything all the time.
Sure.
I mean,
and we'd be very conscious as well, because if one person has that in the workplace, they just can't come near the kitchen whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because the risk of cross-contamination will be huge.
Yeah.
And then there is quite strict returning to work rules as well.
Really? And that happens quite a lot if people feel they have to drag themselves into work because they have the flu and they'll get docked and they'll pay to get docked and all that sort of stuff. But the worst thing you can do, particularly if you have an open plan office, someone has the flu, they come into work absolutely rattling and then the whole building gets it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's utter stupidity.
So there's two things there. If you've got a head cold, which is infectious, but obviously you're functional, then you can be, by having really good respiratory etiquette and good hand hygiene practices, you can not share it and maybe confine yourself to your office and things like that. But if you've got a flu-like illness, you should not be going to work. You certainly shouldn't be visiting anyone in hospital if you've any kind of an infection, including a head cold.
Yeah.
Because people who are in hospital are vulnerable, they're already sick, they don't need any additional stresses.
Yeah.
And of course, the other book we need to watch out for is norovirus. That's winter vomiting. And it started to become active as well. And that's a virus. And once again, viruses aren't treatable with antibiotics. You have to, sit it out, plenty of fluids, rest yourself. And what you don't want to do is share it with anyone. So stay at home and keep your hands washed.
Stop infecting everybody else, basically.
Yeah.
That's interesting you talk there about antibiotics, because a lot of people, they'll say, oh, my child is sick, they need an antibiotic. They need an antibiotic. We're using antibiotics at a massive scale in this country. And sometimes, I know from friends of mine who are working in the profession, people won't leave the surgery unless they have a prescription for an antibiotic. But if it is a virus, can a virus turn into a bacterial infection at some stage? Or is it just, it's the flu, get over it, and just... what are the actual steps to take?
OK, so viruses don't turn into bacterial infections, but occasionally, rarely, particularly if you're in a vulnerable group, you can get a secondary bacterial infection. So the natural history of any infection is you get sick, you feel awful, you start to get better.
Yeah.
If you get sick, you feel awful, and then you start to get feeling worse, then you probably need to go and see your doctor again, particularly if you have signs of agitation, confusion, you're really not able to hardly stand at all, if you're not passing water and you don't, not weeing, you don't feel the urge to wee, or if there's any skin changes such as extreme pallor or mottling, and that rash that if you press it, it doesn't go away. Any of these things are signs that an infection has gone bad, and really you need to go and have a medical review.
Basically, and how long does the flu last in people? That's what...
OK, so it's very bad for the first week, and then you have a convalescent period, but you can be unwell for 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
And then, of course, there are people who really, they get so wiped out by it that their full energy levels don't return for weeks or months after that.
Because it can take a lot out of you.
It sure can.
Yeah,
it's not a minor illness by any stretch.
And so if you can inoculate yourself against it, please do so, and it's not too late. If people want to get their hands on the flu vaccine or any information, how do they do that?
Well, there's lots of information on winterready.ie on our website. Your pharmacist, your GP will provide you with your vaccination and any advice that you might require.
OK, thank you so much for joining us and educating. I didn't even get to take the you-know-what out of the boys for their man flu epidemic that they always seem to have. But thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
You've certainly educated me on it. Now, time for a quick break. When we come back, Mel B requests men do this before she'll date them. Find out what it is after the break. Very welcome back to the show. Now time for some of your comments. Actually, before we do that, I better reintroduce my lovely panel. We have Crossy, broadcaster. There you go. Broadcaster. Restaurateur. We have Gareth Smith, Gaz. And finally from the swing hat, Sonny Luke. Anyway, earlier on in the show, we were talking about this bodybuilding female who is absolutely ripped. Her husband's quite... well, he's not nowhere near as muscly as her, and it doesn't bother her at all because she is appreciating the love. And we were asking, would it bother you if your partner was spent that much time at the gym? Anyway, different strokes for different folks, says Kate. The guy obviously likes muscles. If that's a fella's type, I don't think he'd mind at all. Ben says there's something very sexy about a strong woman, but if she could snap me like a twig, I might be a bit intimidated. And Sally says fair play to her. I'm sure she keeps him on his toes, and that's not only where she keeps them, I'd say. Anyway, also speaking about labour and are men overlooked in the labour ward. Trish says the midwives and doctors don't even speak to the partner's husbands much of it all. My husband felt excluded and helpless, for want of a better word. I'd have been lost without him, so I made sure he knew I valued him being there. Maria says it's tough for anyone to see someone they care about in pain and feel helpless, although I didn't think about it at my 2 births. I'm sure it was a daunting experience for my husband. Tracy says women get a lot better on without the men around. I 5. I left the husband at home for the 5th one. The midwives tried to include them by telling them rub her back, daub her forehead. F off. They're just so awkward around the place, not knowing what to do. Oh my God, these stories are getting better. Joni says my husband sat through 3 long labours with me, awkward and nice, helpless and sympathetic. He was offered tea. Our 4th and last, we opted that he stay with the other 3. I'm not joking, it was lovely. Just me worrying about me and baby, and daddy and baby were none the worse for it. Best pals they are, and a big age gap, 50 years to be precise. And finally, Karina says my one and only take on going into labour is there is only 3 criteria necessary. If you're a midwife, a family member that's already given birth, or an anaesthetist who has copious amounts of drugs on offer, if you're not any of those people stated, off you... The language of the text today, off you know what. In my opinion, the husband, partner, significant other are just about... just about use as knickers on an avocado. There you go. I haven't heard that one before. Now, if you want to become one... I have to start this again now. This is a quite clever intro and I did it wrong, so I'll do it again. Forget the last 2 seconds. If you want to become one with Mel B, you need to go and get yourself a sexual health test. There you see, I did it. The singer has revealed that she tells boyfriends to visit the STI clinic and get the all clear before she will take things to the next level with them. The Spice Girls spoke on the Truth Flirts podcast and said it's an important conversation to have before becoming intimate. So, do you agree with her? Why am I looking at you first? I don't know, you're closest to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think straight people don't do it enough.
I don't think they do either, to be quite honest. That would be a go-to thing with dating anybody in your world, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Before you do anything, you go in, and you can get it for free, actually. There's free services in Dublin that you can go and get yourself checked. It will take 5 minutes.
Do you have to book in advance for this sort of stuff?
No, you can go in.
Because I did one years ago, back when I was probably a teenager, and you had to book this, and it would take 2 months in advance. So can you imagine going out with someone now? When I get the results back, you know.
You say you wouldn't wait for 2 months for the right woman?
No, I didn't say that. I just mean, you know, I just wondered if you can walk in off the street now. If
you can,
well, then that makes sense. Absolutely, there's absolutely no reason why not.
What's the wait time to get the results these days?
They will tell you pretty quickly afterwards, like 2 to 3 days, and in certain things they can tell you within 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Well,
literally with one prick in your finger or whatever it is, and they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mad.
So,
anyway, so there you go. So we're all in favour of this then.
Part of the plan.
Can you imagine though going on a first date? It would be a bit of a passion killer, just so you know we're not going to.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I've got a kit here, just off the toilet with you. Yeah.
Well,
and some of them quite invasive, the tests.
Yes, they are. But not as bad as they used to be.
Really?
Yeah, not as bad as they used to be. But I would say, I have a lot of straight friends, and I said to them before, and they're like, oh, why is there something wrong with you? And I'm like,
no, it's just a matter of
This is normal. Everyone needs to do it.
There's a lot of stuff that isn't necessarily detected visibly and stuff like that. And, you know, so...
There's a massive spike in STIs actually in Ireland over the last couple of years, things like chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis and stuff, because people, I think there was such a campaign in and around the time of the AIDS epidemic that people were very, very educated about it, but that's kind of fallen by the wayside now, and the education, particularly in the straight community anyway, it's just not there anymore. It's not pushed as far, I don't think.
Do you think that rise would be related to things like Tinder taking off and and web dating and things getting way more casual these days.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't know, maybe because there's a kind of a hookup culture now that didn't used to be there as strongly, I think.
But I do think the education is definitely, the highlight around the education has gone down a bit, or the awareness or something.
But I think when pregnancy is off the table as well, because the sharpest rise in some instances is over the over 55s, because pregnancy is not an option anymore. So, like, it's not, you wouldn't use a condom or anything like that because you think you don't need it. But that is actually a very serious problem, because then you get infected and don't know any better. Right, moving on. Which is no harm to say this anyway. Learning to say no can be very difficult for some people, especially if they're people pleasers. And in today's society, there's always an event to attend, from dinner parties, baby showers, weddings. But one author has written a self-help book to empower her readers to say no more often. Sarah Knight claims if you say yes to a friend's event which you really don't want to attend, you're actually hurting yourself more in the long run. You may have a demanding job, you're exhausted, you have terrible social anxiety. So rather than worrying about disappointing a friend, you should just worry more about yourself. So are you good at saying no? Well, we went out to ask you. Take a look.
I'd probably try and think of a convenient excuse for us, but yeah, if I couldn't think of something handy, I'd probably have no problem saying no, yeah. You can kind of bend over backwards, especially this time of the year. You can kind of try and be here, there and everywhere, and, you know, trying to meet all sorts of demands.
I force myself to go to things I don't want to.
Well, like just my buddy here just a few seconds ago, you know, he got me on here and I couldn't say no to him. I suppose probably peer pressure and wanting to please people and, I don't know, just trying to maybe fit in. If it's serious enough and I don't want to be involved, I have no problem saying no.
Probably is an Irish thing. Well, you know, the Irish people, they love enjoying themselves on everything. But no, I can say no. You know, I just tell them I'm doing my hair, can't go out. You know, so that's basically it. Yeah.
I usually agree to go, and then I torment myself saying, "Why did I say yes?" So no, I'm not great at saying no.
Sometimes you just need to relax, and people have very hectic lives now, work and childcare and trying to fit fitness in, and life just seems to be on like a roller coaster ride. Sometimes you're going, but yeah, it is nice to go out, but sometimes it's nice to stay at home by the fire and read a book as well. Definitely, and have time with kids at home. That's important as well.
The best advice I was ever given on my life is just say no. If you're not sure about anything, just say no. Our former CEO actually said it to me because I had overloaded myself with commitments and charity stuff a few years ago. He's like, you know, don't put yourself under pressure. If you can't do it, you can't do it. Don't feel guilty. And there's a relief in doing that. Yeah. I mean, you're all asked to do loads of things all the time, I would imagine. And it's hard to say no and put yourself first.
Not anymore.
Really?
No.
Oh, you just have the cynics and, you know, nah, just do it. Put it out there.
No way.
Yeah.
No, I used to be called a plate spinner because I would try and do everything.
Yeah.
And everything eventually will come crashing down, you know, because you cannot do everything. And I think this is a great kind of, I won't say initiative, you know, it's been there for a while.
Great advice, though.
It's great advice because you can't do everything. And with, again, the age of social media, you're seeing people doing everything, but you're only seeing, obviously, the best parts and all that sort of stuff. And you have to look after yourself. You know, you can't live other people's lives or what they want you to live or whatever else. Yeah. And it's worked for me anyway, absolutely.
Gaz, I think self-care is important because you can go down a very dangerous road, I think, if you don't look after yourself and your health first and foremost.
For sure, and I feel that if you, like you said, if you're constantly starting to spin the place, you lose the fun straight away. And I often see at these things there are people that are miserable. They're just there to get a photo or two and make it look like they're living a dream life, and they're miserable. Yeah. They would smile for 30 seconds to get the perfect picture and put it on the phone, and
like it.
Yeah.
It's sad.
It creates this huge facade that we should all be living like that, and it's not sustainable.
It's exhausting. I mean, if you're working hard, I mean, you work crazy long hours these days, don't you? Especially this time of the year. Like, what time would you be starting and finishing?
Yes, it was a tough one. We would leave the house at 6:30 in the morning to go and get the seafood, and we finished up with the hampers, I think, at 1:30, 2 this morning. But this is like the crazy Christmas period.
Yeah.
So
and will it calm down then eventually?
Yeah, but I'm an Egypt, you know. I always plan and we have meetings and work, and we're going to work less, and then we go drink pints until 3 in the morning at at a gig that we absolutely should have said no to.
Yeah, so you're not really leading by example. You lead all your staff astray as well.
Complete hypocrite.
Crossy, you say no to nothing. You go to the opening of an envelope.
Yeah, everyone, I know.
What do you do? But see, you kind of do that thing. Oh, I better show up just for 5 minutes, and then you stay.
Yes, and that's the problem. I actually went to a talk recently. Did you ever watch the movie Eat, Pray, Love?
Yeah. No, I didn't actually.
Elizabeth Gilbert. I'm obsessed. One day I'm going to do what she did.
All the time.
It's just incredible. But I went to a talk with her. She was somewhere in Dublin. She has a friend who has a watch that buzzes every half hour. So just say I'm talking to you, and every half hour is a reminder to go, I'm not interested, goodbye.
That would be very annoying.
Yeah,
Really?
and
You're
she's
having a really nice conversation
But apparently,
with somebody,
but then you stay there. You stay there.
Yeah.
But it's that thing where it's realization that stop doing things you don't want to do for the sake of everyone else.
Time management more so, or
No,
will
it's
she
just-
have that on even with her family? Like she has that on all the time.
All the time. Yeah, I read up about it afterwards. This woman, she basically, I don't even know if it's a watch. It's a buzzy thing.
It's the thing that you can buy that gives you the little shocks.
Yeah, it just gives you a little
electric
shock. Now, it's not bad, but it's that thing where if you don't want to be in certain situations, but you're doing it because you're trying to be nice to people, you get the little buzz and you go, this is not good for me.
Yeah.
Would that work for household chores and paperwork?
Yeah. But do you ever have to, do you ever
Like
have to
you said,
say
more than
no?
half an hour in the hoovering.
Do you ever have to say no to things you do want to do though? Like
Yeah,
the
know
last
your
couple of years, I've had a lot of say stags and weddings and stuff because all my friends are at the age that they're getting married. But I can't physically go to them all, even though I want to. And then you're trying to. I won't say way up because that's not the right way, but you can't do everything, and that's kind of the bad side of it, I think, you know, because you can't physically do everything in that way, whether it's your choice or not. So.
And you'll probably find as your child grows now that you'll have to pick between doing a concert or a gig as opposed to a birthday party. And that is
I've already found that. Yeah. Oh, I've already found that.
Really?
That we struggle with in the restaurant trade because the weekends is generally when the weddings are taking place or the birthday parties would be happening. So if or graduations and things, that's when we would be packed.
However, it is a great excuse if you don't want to go to something.
When you weigh the baby and you weigh the bag of money and you say, which is heavier, right?
She's only 11 months. She'll be weighing a lot more when she starts to talk and gives you loads of jip. When she's 12, like your daughter, and she'll be telling you what to do. No, Daddy, you bring me there, you do that. Although, in fairness, after what you told me in the break there, I wouldn't be trusting you to bring me anywhere. the lovely concert you brought your daughter to.
Oh, yeah.
Can I just say I'm very sorry, Gabby, and I do love you.
Yeah. He showed up a week early with his daughter to a Jack Whitehall gig. Poor
It would be
Gabby.
a good gig eventually.
Yeah, eventually when you get there.
The
Right.
glaring was strong.
The glaring is, the force is strong in this one, I'd say. You have to make up for that. Now, time for a quick break. We've plenty more to come in the final part of the show. See you then. You're very welcome back to the show. Now time for some of your comments. We were speaking about Mel B, saying you need she will make any potential boyfriend have an STI test before she will basically embrace them in a very mammy and daddy fashion. Anyway, what am I saying? God. Anyway, I totally agree. A very healthy thing to do. I had one before moving forward with my partner years ago. It was only the other day he said that he didn't. I was disgusted and upset that he lied to me because we'd spoken about it. Well, that's not very nice. Kira says, I definitely agree with what she said. Everyone should get tested before starting a new relationship with somebody. Stephanie says it's a passion killer, but it's sensible. And Debbie says 100% yes. Anyone who doesn't agree is an idiot. We're also speaking about labour, and Mary V has texted. Mary V, is that my mother? Ma'am, yeah, it's my ma'am. Mary V texted. I saw 2 men fainting and one getting sick during labour. None of them were my dad because he wasn't at late. He wasn't at the birth of any of us, let me tell you. Not one. He'd stayed home with the rest
This
of
is
us.
a whole new show.
He just said no. Mammy really has to stop commenting and stuff on Facebook. Like, she's one of those, you know, when you get the stars for being top fan of Evoke.ie and RSVP, and now she's anyway. Rightio, if you're a boss, then listen up to this next story. Edward St. John is the company founder and chairman of a real estate developer in Baltimore and Maryland, and he recently threw a massive party for all 198 members of staff, where he announced that he was giving away £10 million. The average employee was taking home a total of $50,000. Not only that, but the holiday bonus was on top of the annual payout they receive at the end of the year anyway. Now, workers screamed and hugged one another as they were handed red envelopes revealing the size of the bonus they were going to receive. Can you imagine that? Do people get holiday bonuses?
Oh my.
We do. Can I just tell my squad, don't get any ideas?
You're not getting 50 grand each.
But they do. But I think it's more important to be very nice and supportive through the year, rather than just
A gesture Christmas. Yeah.
Just a gesture. I think a happy workplace is key, and that old adage: if your staff are happy, then your customers will be. That said, 50 grand's 50 grand.
But listen, if you're a billionaire, you can afford it. But well, going by social media anyway, your staff seem to be fine and happy. They're always jolly and happy around the place. But you'd have to treat them well throughout the year, because you keep good people, and if you're good people, you have a good business.
That's it. And if you're constantly changing staff, it's way more stressful. And I think it's key to try to have a nice, friendly, happy workplace.
Yeah.
And it's good for my mental health as well.
Yeah, because you can trust the people that are around you.
Yeah, and if you're throwing 12 or 14-hour shifts at people, you know, they can be torturous, and that's part of the trade. So if we can kind of offset that with a nice place to work, then it seems to work. And we've got very, very low staff turnover. And lots of crack and blackguarding and practical jokes and that kind of thing. But we do give... It's actually quite hard to give Christmas bonuses to the staff because the taxman wants it going through the books.
Yeah.
Which kind of defeats the object. Now, you can give up to, I think, a €500 voucher.
Yeah.
But for me, that also just seems a bit tokeny.
Yeah.
But
I'd love a €500 voucher Christmas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hired.
Yeah. No, I only ever worked in a restaurant once and I got fired after 3 days and the world's worst. No, I'm good at washing dishes. And
Clearly not.
I am. No, I was a bad waitress. However, dishes and glasses and all that sort of cutlery I'm grand. I'm actually good at prepping things that people don't want to prep either. You know, when you have to take the legs and the wings and stuff off turkeys, and there is photographic evidence of me doing so on my Instagram. But yeah, but it's the front of house things I was very bad at. So yeah.
Me too, actually.
Yeah.
I like to retreat to the sanctuary of the kitchen.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm the worst waiter in the world.
Yeah, I drop stuff everywhere, forget order, is absolutely shocking. But it is important to have a happy workplace. There's nothing more torturous than when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh God, I can't believe I have to go in there again. And I've got this for another how many years? I mean, no one wants to be like that. Life's too short. Crossy.
Yeah, like where we are, like FM104 is great. Like we don't get bonuses, but you know,
it's a happy workplace.
We had our Christmas party this week, and halfway during the Christmas party, I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to come in tomorrow. And I just texted them, and they were like, yeah, don't worry about it. So like we have that sort of loose. I get up at 5 o'clock every morning. You'd want to like it to do it every single day. I've been doing it for 13 years now, nearly. But our show finishes at 10, we stay on till 2. But like if I want to go at 12, they'll be like, yeah, go on.
But that's what, if you treat your staff well, they'll work harder for you. And you can call them into the weekends and short notice and do the longer shifts around Christmas time if necessary, if they get the goodwill back. Well, you work for yourself, Luke, so that doesn't really apply.
So
are you good to yourself? Are you kind to yourself?
Well, we go out once a year to kind of celebrate success, and you know it's important for us as well, because a lot of times we'd only see each other in car parks of hotels and stuff sometimes. You know, within a busy period we do over 100 gigs a year.
And Christmas, I suppose, this is your busiest time as
so
well.
we would have our Christmas party in January. We'd go out for a meal, have a bit of crack and that side of things, you know, but there'd be no bonuses, unfortunately. But it is important to make sure it's a happy kind of work balance as well. You know, it's very important, because people might have teaching jobs and other stuff as well going on, just to make sure they're available.
Yeah. So but like being happy, it's so important to be happy.
It is.
It's very underrated. Yes, whatever about bonuses, it's great to have a load of money, but God, if you're miserable, then no amount of money in the world is worth staying in a job you're miserable. No, it doesn't. I don't think. No, genuinely, I don't think it is. If you're miserable in your job and you're getting that burnout phase, because because last year actually burnout was classified as a disease. So and burnout is defined as a consistent stressor in the workplace that isn't resolved. So if you have that, eventually your hormone, your cortisol levels get so high, you start getting sick. It leads to physical illness and mental illness and high levels of depression and anxiety. So it's vitally important to have a supportive, strong workplace and not having people check up on you 5 minutes and looking over your shoulder and things like that, which, I mean, we've all had jobs like that, Crossy. They're not nice.
They're not nice. I think what I would love for in Ireland, that we had this thing where we had me days, 2 me days. So they're not your holidays, they're just 2 me days, where you can just ring up one day and go...
Per week.
Yeah.
Per week.
I'm so going to work for you.
I actually think I want to work here as well.
Do you cook turkeys? I'm good at prepping them, and they're after finding the proof of me doing the turkeys. That's me on the left.
God.
That's Ted Palmer, our former local butcher on the right.
God.
So what happened was my dad did it as a joke. He thought I was too stuck up to do it as a Christmas job. So I came home from college one weekend. He said, "You're going across the road there to prep the turkeys." I went, "Oh, okay, so." Because I couldn't waitress and I wouldn't waitress. He didn't know how I wouldn't waitress because I was brutal at it. But like he was flabbergasted. So 40 turkeys in, they told me it was a big joke.
And you've got it done and all.
40
Elaine, the
turkeys in. 40.
Jeez.
Do you know how long it takes to properly...
I've got no thanks.
We will take you on Christmas
Giblets
Eve.
and all.
Enough about giblets now. Right, that's it from us today. Thanks to all of my guests here in studio. Live at 12 is up next. Stay tuned for that. We'll see you back here Monday at 11. Take care. Bye-bye.